Hi, it's Ant from All Electric RC, and today I'm going to be swapping out this old 27 meg radio to the latest 2.4 gig radio. Very often people come into the shops with the RC car and they've either got broken transmitters or they've got missing parts, and we suggest that perhaps it's time to pop a modern 2.4 gig radio into there, but they're not sure of how easy or difficult it is to do. It is a really easy job to do. All we need to do is take out the receiver from the car, pop in the new one, set the transmitter up, and away you go. So let's show you what we mean by that. So if we take the cover off here, okay, so under the skin you can see of this particular car we've got your steering servo, we've got the receiver, we've got the electronic speed controller, the 540 motor and the rechargeable battery pack in the car. So the bit that we're going to be really replacing is this receiver here. So the way we get these receivers out, sometimes they're stuck in on double-sided tape. This one's actually loose, but typically they should be stuck in the car so it doesn't move about. So if you just get a sort of, well, we've got a flat ruler here, and it's just a matter of just easing it under the receiver and just working it under, loosening the double-sided tape so you've got it nice and loose. As I say, there's no tape on this particular one, so it's just come away. And then what we've got is plugged into the receiver are the two plugs, one for the steering servo and one's for the electronic speed controller. In this case here, the wires are all sort of neatly wrapped together. I'm not going to cut this, I'm just going to take these connectors out. Again, with these connectors, if you can grab the plastic connector itself rather than pulling at it from the wires. Obviously if you're pulling from the wires, you've got a case where you may pull the wires out of the connector block. So try and sort of grab hold of the plastic, sort of give them a bit of a wiggle. They are tight, and as you see they come away there quite easily in the end. Right, we've got the two connectors now. Something just to say here really is that we do have two different types of connector on RC cars, RC aircraft even. This particular one we class as Futaba style connector, and on the edge of it there's a little pip. Now sometimes you'll find you may need to remove this pip. The other sort of version of this connector actually doesn't have this on and has a little bit more of a chamfer just on the top edge of it as well. It all depends on the receiver that it's actually going to go into as whether you're going to need to remove it or not. With the Etronix unit, actually it's okay with pip on, so we don't really have to worry on this one. So that's a good thing at the moment anyway. Right, let's get this car out of the way for the time being, and then we'll open this box so you can see what you get in the box. Right, so this is the Etronix transmitter and receiver combo. So in the box we've got the manual, which has got obviously the instructions, some specification, how you set the binding or do the binding, the pairing in there, so that's in there. And then in the blister there, let's take those out, we've got the transmitter, and then in the baggie we've got an aerial pipe, new aerial pipe, we've got the new receiver which is going to go into the car, and then we've got the little bind cable and also a little plunger for setting the fail safe. Now with the transmitter. Okay, we've got a cover. So under the cover we've got the on-off button for the transmitter. We've got the sub trims for the steering, the throttle. Typically with those you've got a 0 center position, and then you've got 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 either side of it. The same again for the throttle. With the steering, if you find your servos over a little bit, you can just tweak it in a little bit. With the throttle one, typically with modern electronic speed controllers, all you need to have that is set to the 0 position. When you turn it on and it initialises, the speed controller will take that wherever that is actually is the 0 position. So yeah, we can leave that there. The one that catches lots of people out is the steering dual rates. Now this one actually goes from 0 to 10. What you find, if you've got that set in the 0 position, when you've got it all connected up and you turn your wheel for steering, you'll find you've got no movement from the servo. All we have to do there is just turn this up, just turn it up a little bit at a time, turn the steering wheel, and you'll find your servo will be moving. It does catch people out because it gets turned down to 0 and all of a sudden, yeah, we've got no steering. Why have I got no steering? Something's broke. And very often it's that. Okay, next above those controls there's a little button that's set in. That is for the binding process or pairing process. We'll talk about that in a little while. We've also got a couple of LEDs which are the power indicators, tells us we've got the transmitter turned on, and above that we've got the servo reverse switches as well. So if you find that you're turning left and it's going right, we find the steering one, reverse that, and again with the throttle, if we're squeezing the throttle and it's going backwards, then we can do the servo reverse for the throttle on the other side. Okay, we've got short aerial. Okay, still be careful, they still can get broke, but we haven't got that great big pull out aerial anymore to poke people's eyes out with. Underneath we've got the battery compartment, and on this particular occasion it takes 8 AA batteries. Again, we recommend good quality Duracell batteries. They tend to last a while nowadays, and we don't, with some of the cheaper batteries we do tend to find you can have a few more problems. So if you can stick to those, you'll be good. Let's put some batteries in that, and then we can see that powered up. Ta-da, as you see, Duracell batteries. Okay, we've got the battery cover off, as you've seen. There is also another little handy device which actually holds the batteries in place. And so if we take that out of the way, again, all we need to do is put the batteries in the right way around. So let's take a time and do that. You might find as you're progressing and getting these batteries in, at some point they do all want to jump out all at the same time. So just nice and steady, loading it up, making sure we got them the right way round, trying keeping a sort of fingers on them a little bit just to keep them in position. And when they're all sort of in there, we can actually get that clip and clip that back in. As I say, when that's clipped in there, it does actually hold them in place, so that's not too bad there. And then slide that across, there we go. So we've got batteries in now. Let's see if we get power, and we've got power as well, so that's a good step at least. So we can turn that off for the time being. At the car again. Okay, and then on the receiver, if we look at the little indications just on the side where the servos plug in, we can see from the bottom it's telling us that there's channel 1, channel 2, then there's a bind position which is the next one up. What we found with the Etronix units, when you buy it as the combo, they tend to come pre-bound for you anyway, so we don't really have to worry about that binding procedure at the start. If we don't get a connection, then we need to perhaps have a look in the manual and have a read about how to do that. but at the start I wouldn't worry about that too much. I'd say connect it up, see if it connects, then yeah, take it from there. Now, as I say, with the Etronix receivers, we have got the little sort of gap in there which will take the connectors with the pip on, so we don't have to chop that pip off. It's just a matter of installing those two connectors into the first two ports, channel 1 and channel 2. As I say, if we've got that wrong, and what I mean by that is that if when we operate the steering it operates the throttle, all we need to do is just swap those two over. As I say, at the moment it's all nicely wrapped up here. We could chop this back here and we could trace these wires out and we could find out which channel is, but it's just a simple matter. There's only two connectors there to change over anyway. So the next thing we'd possibly do would put some double-sided tape on it, and then we could stick the receiver in place. But again, another good sort of idea, another tip there is if we leave it loose just while we do the connecting up, we can make sure that everything's working, and it just becomes a little bit easier than trying to fiddle with the connectors if it's sort of stuck back into the bottom of the car there. Well, let's hope the battery's charged on this car. Again, procedure wise with transmitters is to turn your transmitter on first. Okay, let's just make sure that the first two are set at 0 and the steering is just turned up a little bit, so at least we get some movement. Okay, so we'll connect the battery up, switch it on. Obviously this was left switched on, so it's come to life straight away, and we can see straight away it's actually powered up. But let's see what we've got here. I'm going to grab hold of the car first, and let's just try. Yeah, we've got some steering there. It's a very small amount, which sort of indicates that the dual rates are still turned down a little bit, but we have got steering on steering. Let's turn that up a bit. The other way, that way. There we go, and as we can see, we've got steering. So you can see the amount of steering movement we've got there. Let's turn that dual rate down, and we turn that, and we've got no steering at all. So turn that back up again. Okay, let's see if it's working in the correct direction as well. So again, typically if we're standing over the car and we steer to the left, the steering is going to move to the left, and we steer to the right, the steering is going to move to the right. So we're okay there. Right, the next thing is, are we forwards and backwards correct? So again, just holding it up a little bit, trying to keep your fingers out from the motors and the turning parts. We'll just add a little bit of throttle, and let's see, that's moving in the forward direction, so that's correct. If we push it away, that's moving in the reverse direction, so we're correct there again. So we're okay there. If we weren't, as I say, we've got those two servo reverses at the top there, and it's just a matter of just flicking that switch. Again, you're probably best to power off while you flick the reverse switches, but if you need to do, that's what those are there for. So yeah, that's it. That's all ready really to install the receiver. As I say, a little bit of double-sided tape. Typically we tend to get the aerial sort of inboard taped down. This particular model, it's got a little cutout in the chassis here where the aerial would come up, and again the aerial pipe would sit on the top there. We just need to feed that through and through there. But that's it. That's the 2.4 gig radio installed in this car, and as you can see, it's a very straightforward thing to do. So have a go yourself, and if you get stuck, you know, I'm always in the shop. So take care for now. Bye.